Hi guys, I'm Sarah from the Mama Down Under. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids. I live here in Australia and I'm doing this video today not because I want to pretend that I'm perfect or that I have anything that I can tell you that you should do in your homeschool. I just want to share some of our experiences, and particularly our experiences using some curriculum in our homeschool. And today I want to talk to you about the Shiller Learning Language Arts Level A. And so we have Shiller Learning Language Arts Level A. The program promises you that it will teach your child reading, spelling, writing, handwriting, phonics, speech, typing, and even vocabulary. And it promises you that it will cover pre-K, kindergarten, and grade 1. And it promises, probably most importantly for me, that it would be open and go Montessori. That I'd be able to open it up and do Montessori with my kids. And I guess I understood that it wasn't going to be overly traditional and like I was probably going to have shelf work and a classroom and all those sort of things with this program. But I was okay with that as long as I went through traditional Montessori lessons, and that was my expectation. Keep in mind as we go through this review that I did purchase the electronic version or the e-files of this curriculum. My husband bound them for me into these books, and I also purchased some of the other materials separately from the company. But the curriculum, I bought the e-form, and if you're purchasing curriculum, a lot of times it can seem easy and cheapest to buy the electronic version, but maybe think twice about it because you can't return it if you buy an electronic version. You also can't resell it if you buy an electronic version, and you have to spend money printing it as well. So unless you're sure that this is the curriculum that you want and that you have no intentions of reselling it, that you aren't worried about doing any of those things, that you're not worried about having to return it, maybe it's worthwhile, even with the shipping cost to Australia, to buy the actual physical copy of the curriculum, because then you can resell it to your friend, you can return it. Alright, so the curriculum itself, it comes with 4 books, language art. This is book 1. You have 4 different level books. It also comes with a Mother Goose Rhymes book, and while I have it out here, I'll just talk a little bit about this. This has a collection of nursery rhymes, but there is no pictures in this. There's a lot of very traditional, old-fashioned nursery rhymes. My children, they were meant to ask me to read nursery rhymes from it according to the curriculum. They have never done that once, despite I tried to make it interesting. I tried to read them with expression. Like I said, there's a lot of old-fashioned ones in there that, at least from at the time, my 3 and 4-year-old were struggling to understand them, and they just didn't catch their interest. With the curriculum, you also get access to some of the files that come with level B, which includes writing the alphabet. And you can see that it's just tracing of the alphabet letters. Now, this includes both manuscript and block letters, and they do use quite a unique font for their manuscript, especially with the capital letters, and it's not something that I would personally want to be using with my children to teach them to write, although, like, you know, in terms of just pencil control and tracing the letter, it'd probably be fine for that, but you probably wouldn't be using it to teach them some type of font. There's also an electric primer that is one of the readers that they use in level B. I really wanted my kids to love this because it's so like traditional. I really have enjoyed having this, but the stories, I don't know if you've ever had one of McGuffey's eclectic primers, but the stories are actually kind of hard to understand. They don't make a lot of sense. They're kind of unrelated to each other. The pictures are really old-fashioned. Of course, the lessons themselves and the letters use of letters and words is fine. Although my daughter will still kind of pick it up and read it sometimes, it's been hard to really get her to be interested in that. The curriculum itself, so those are the books that it comes with. It also comes with these metal insets, which if you purchase them through the company, you will not receive metal ones, you'll receive plastic ones. Most things that I've read say that it doesn't make a big difference whether you have metal ones or plastic ones. I have the metal ones, but this is probably one of the most traditionally used material in the program. I did overall really like the lessons in how they use these, and they kind of worked through more of a traditional use of Montessori metal insets, and that was definitely a positive of the program. It also comes with a movable alphabet. Again, I don't have the movable alphabet from the company, so I can't speak to the quality of theirs, but this is just one that I purchased, and that's part of what the curriculum uses. Although I have to say I was fairly disappointed in how at least level A engages with the movable alphabet. It's pretty right. The program also will provide you with some grain to do letter tracing in. It will send you some Play-Doh and a work mat, and that's the kit that you'll receive. In terms of how I liked this program, let's start with what I didn't like. But the first thing that I didn't like about the program was that it introduces the letter names. And I don't know if you know anything about Marie Montessori, but she advocates for not introducing the letter names until later, and we start by introducing letter sounds. So instead of introducing this letter as a P, we just teach that this is P, and that's it. Now, I also didn't like that it only introduces one letter at a time. I have done a little bit of research into this area, and Maria Montessori herself advocates for teaching. She would introduce 3 letters at a time, and one of the reasons that she did this was so that a child can discriminate between the letters, so they can tell, oh, what's different about an A compared to a P, and then I can actually distinguish that this is an A versus a P, whereas when we introduce one at a time, we have nothing to compare it to. Also, children are totally capable of learning more than one letter at once. I once listened to a talk by a lady who wrote a curriculum called Fast Phonics, and you can find more about that in the blog post that I have linked below, but she actually said that she can teach any child all of the sounds of the alphabet, the basic ones, in a week. I think that most kids can actually learn them a lot more quickly than we think. And doing one at a time in this sort of glorified letter learning program, which is kind of basically how I sum this up in the end, is that it's a glorified letter learning program, I think is kind of disrespectful to the child, which is, again, not Maria Montessori, and it also just isn't optimizing how the child can learn. One good thing, as we talk about the letter learning, the good thing that I do have to say about it is that it is multisensory. So when you do learn a letter, they make that letter with Play-Doh, you trace it in grain, you make that letter with your body, you sing a song about it, which in theory would be good. Those are 2 things that I had an issue with to start with. It's also meant to cover 2 to 3 years of language arts. I told you at the beginning, I promised that it would cover pre-K, kindergarten, and grade 1. Now, I don't have the book 4 printed out for this curriculum, but I have looked at it. We haven't used it because I guess we became disenchanted before we got to that point. But if you look at book 3, which book 4 isn't very big, so this is 3/4 of the way through the program. So you'd think that'd have to be, I mean, if it's your 3 years, it's got to be at least into the, you think 3rd, 2nd year, halfway through that at least. And the lesson 67 in this book 3, you're only just introducing the letter Z or Z, depending on where you are. So That's how long it's taken to learn all the letters of the alphabet. To me, that's a really long time. And I just want to compare that to a grade 1 sequence by Little Learners Love Literacy, which is a great phonics program. Definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend their readers. So if you want to look into that. But you can see, if I can show you, this is their foundation teaching sequence. And you can see foundation is like kindergarten in Australia, but it does they learn all of these sounds in kindergarten, right? So then we have grade 1. By the end of grade 1, they are doing long vowels, special sounds. Basically, by the end of grade 1, in Little Learners Love Literacy, kids are reading almost everything, most things, except for really long words where they're having to do multiple connection of the sounds. They're reading. And also, to compare, like this is a Becca grade 1, and I know Becca is known for being quite advanced, but by the end of grade 1, these are the words that they're reading, and they've learned, well and truly learned, all of their basic phonemes, not just the letter sounds. So I think that it's actually really deceptive to say that this will take you through grade 1. I mean, I don't know what their expectation for grade 1 is, but I don't think it aligns with a Montessori classroom, nor does it align with a normal, traditional grade 1 scope and sequence. So we have that. And the other thing is, I mentioned earlier that the curriculum includes songs. There's one song for every letter of the alphabet, but the songs are not helpful. They are actually really unmusical in my opinion, and they're things like the song will be called Jump for J, and so the song will be a series of words, and your child is supposed to jump every time there's a word that starts with a J. Well, even my older child, who was very confident with her letter sounds, struggled at the rate that these songs go. They're very fast moving, and they're also just words. So it's not like if you remembered this song, they're not catchy, you're not going to remember it, and it doesn't actually help you with remembering the letter sound. It's not like, J was a jellyfish who jumped, I don't know, something like that, where you might actually remember it. But no, it wasn't like that, and I was really disappointed with those as well. So that's something to know. The other thing is that I find that the curriculum, at least in as much as we use, it really lacked emphasis on phonemic awareness, which I think is really important in the context of Montessori philosophy of teaching reading. And there are some things in there. I don't want to say that there's no phonemic awareness in it, because that would not be true. But I was looking for traditional Montessori phonemic awareness games like I Spy, and it's just not in there that I have seen as I've gone through the program. The other thing is that review is a little bit challenging. Some things are reviewed in sort of a spiral way that you'll repeat the lesson, but a lot of things aren't. You're just supposed to take note of what your child doesn't remember and then go back and do those lessons again. And I don't know, maybe other people's kids are more receptive to that, but my kids are not very receptive to having to do the same lesson over again unless I really didn't understand it. So that was confusing. It didn't feel linear to me and was hard for me to keep track of as a teacher. So what are some positives that I can say about it? It is open and go, and it does use a variety of activities to teach the alphabet. There are a few other good areas that it covers, like it will teach your kids the seasons, it will teach them how to introduce themselves respectfully to people, Some of those lessons were really good. Like I said, the metal inset lessons are pretty decent. Like they're actually fairly aligned with Montessori philosophy, I think. And the curriculum, you're not reading really by the end of it, and it's supposed to take you through grade 1. You might just be sounding out 3-letter words, and it just doesn't do what it promises to do. And the bottom line is that this curriculum was not for us. It did not provide me with Open and Go Montessori. I do not think that it aligned with the Montessori philosophy of teaching language and reading. And yeah, it just isn't, it's not worth the money. This was $100 US. That's $200 Australian, guys. It was not worth it. It was a waste of my money, and I'm sorry that I spent it. I'm really sorry to have to give such a negative review, but you need to know what you're buying. So if you think that I've, totally destroyed this curriculum and I haven't been fair to it, leave a message below. Let me know what your experience has been, if it has worked for you, if you think that it's something that people would find helpful, but for us it hasn't been. And yeah, if you want to see anything else in it, if you want to see any other pages, if you want a more detailed review, you can visit the blog post that should be linked below. And yeah, let me know what you think, and happy homeschooling. Bye!